The Oval Filter by Lamar Gills, inspired by the Oval Portrait. Tark could have lived without the ice baths. During his time rehabbing his ACL, strained, not torn, thank God, his life would have been over if his injury were that severe. There'd been outright pain during a few torturous PT sessions. Having grown accustomed to throwing himself full speed at other large, wickedly strong humans as part of Radcliffe's Prep's nationally ranked, thank you very much, football team's defensive line, Tarek had learned to accept pain. Discomfort, though, he could be a baby. On the field, when helmets crunched like half a dozen fender benders on every play, most pain was sudden, bright, and minor. A memory before you really felt it. Even when he'd heard the pop in his knee during training camp and his leg quit on him, the fear was worse than the pain. Fear that he'd be gone all of senior year. Fear that he'd fall off college scout radars and be gone forever. That loose, rolling, tugging ache where his thigh met his calf was secondary to a potential life of obscurity, working in one of the city's popular and hopeless industries meatpacking, or banging skulls at the local prison. He had to get out, especially after all that's happened. The entire town was paying for him now. So a strain was good news. The stretching and weights part of the job. And now that he was mobile without crutches, doing light workouts and building toward his comeback in 2 weeks, the coach and team trainers insisted on his least favorite part of bodily maintenance. "It's been a while, Rick," Morris, the team manager, said, tapping the temperature gauge beside the aluminum tub with his loose fitting state championship ring, awarded for his dutiful service to the team, even though he never once suited up or ran a play. He dumped another scoop of ice into the crystalline water. "Coach says start you around 64 degrees. See how you do." "You already know how I'm going to do. Freeze my nuts off." "Yes, that's correct, but they'll thaw." That got a laugh from some guys in earshot, though not from Tarek. Morris, an inch or two shy of tall, and many pounds shy of an admirable physique, was a senior too, and team manager their entire high school career. Tarek never saw the appeal of the gig. Seemed like a lot of grunt work, including his personal deal breaker, washing 50 plus funky jock straps as often as they needed washing. Once, coming home on the team bus, McLean, their quarterback, had asked Morris why he did it. No scholarships or pro dreams involved. Everyone in the surrounding seats, Tarek included, got quiet, inquiring minds. Not used to the spotlight, Morris blushed and stuttered his way through it. I love football. And I love you guys. We're a team. Where you go, I go." The game was a blowout win, and everyone was in a good mood, so no one gave him crap for such an affectionate answer. Instead, McLean started a slow clap, and others joined in, giving similar professions of love for their team, their brothers. Tarek was not feeling the love today as he stepped onto the platform that put him level with the aluminum tub's rim and dipped a toe in water so cold it made his entire foot feel coated in silver. Morris said, "Doing it slow like that's only going to make it worse." "Back off. It's been a while." "Come on, Rick. Once I get you settled in, I got other stuff to do. It's only 10 minutes. Play Fruit Ninja or something." At that moment, Coach Nielsen poked his head into the training room. "Rick the Freak, how's that treatment coming?" "Fine, Coach, fine." "Better be. We need you back on that line pronto." "Yes, sir." Coach disappeared, on to other business, and Morris gave Tarek a, "well," kind of look. "Take a deep breath. It'll be fine. 10 minutes and you're done." "Fine." Deep breath. 1, 2. Tarek dropped into the tub, bent his knees, and submerged everything below his pecs, A trillion pinpricks assaulting every nerve in his body. His heart paused and his lungs sieged for just one frightening moment. He must have been away from it longer than he thought. He didn't remember it ever feeling like that. He thumped his chest, jump starting his cardiovascular and respiratory systems. With chattering teeth, he said, "Give me my phone." Morris pressed past Tarek his cell. He didn't play Fruit Ninja, but he did open Instagram to add a new selfie to his story. It was a high shot. Him sitting among floating ice cubes, naked except for the black gym shorts he wore under the water. Caption: Guess who's back? Frozen Nuts Edition. He posted it, saw views and likes pile up immediately. Morris said, "I'm going to get the practice jerseys into the wash. There's a timer set. Make sure you're not in here too long after it buzzes." "I ain't forgot everything, man." "Good. Glad to have you back, Rick." Morris left Tarek in the burning phase of the ice bath. Those moments when it's so cold, it feels like there's blue fire beneath your skin. He distracted himself by scrolling through the various posts on IG. All the models he followed flaunting their sponsored short skirts, bikinis, and flattening tees, only stopping to tap the heart icon beneath each photo out of habit. They did nothing for him lately. Then he saw a pic that, no. No way. It made zero sense. So he couldn't bless it with a heart. Not anymore. Courtney. Her bright, brown face and beaming smile inside a strange, oval-shaped filter that seemed out of place in an app that favored square portrait images. Though not as out of place as Courtney herself in a new post, despite being dead for more than a month. The tub was suddenly too cold to bear. "Hey," Moore said. "What's with all that splashing? Sounds like a tidal wave in here." Tarek was awkward exiting the tub, swishing chunky ice over the rim, creating a tendril of water that snaked toward the central floor drain. "Yo, you see this?" He held his phone before him, clumsy on the tub's platform. "Be careful! You fall and re-injure yourself, and that's both our asses. Just look." Morris took the phone, frowning. He had to understand how wrong it was seeing her face there, like nothing had happened. At least that was what Tarek thought until Morris said, "She's hot." "What?" Tarek claimed his phone, flipped it, and saw the screen had refreshed. Now, a bathing suit model from Brazil filled the screen. He scrolled, trying to find Courtney, but he followed too many people, and the refresh had filled his timeline with hundreds of new photos. So he tapped her name into the search field. No users found. Flustered, Tarek retyped it, double-checked for misspellings. No users found. Courtney's mother had deleted all her social media after. Couldn't handle the creeps or trolls. Maybe she couldn't handle the outpouring of condolences either. All those RIP Court, hashtag Heaven's got a new angel, and other bull. Tarek sure couldn't. Morris said, "Yo, you don't look so good." What to say? What to do? I gotta go." When Tarek sidestepped on course for his locker, Morris blocked his way, a dangerous move considering their 80-pound weight difference. "Your treatment," he said. Tarek nudged him aside. "Tomorrow. I'll do 20 minutes to make up for it." That's not the way it works. But Tarek could not care less. Nothing was as it should have been that evening. Courtney Hedge hadn't been girlfriend material. Her words. She was a bad chick. Also her words. For sure. Rihanna-esque and aware of the resemblance, she worked her looks and attitude. At parties, she was like the luscious blue light of a bug zapper. Everyone tried to get close, even after seeing their friends go down sizzling. If you thought it was brutal in person, The online thirst was something to behold. Every Courtney post got likes in the thousands. Every video, crazy views. She even had a couple of cats on those freeform TV shows following her, and she blew those minor celebs up when they slid into her DMs, particularly if they only played a teen on TV but were really in their 20s, like most of them were. Tarek always assumed she ended up dating some NBA prospect from one of the nearby colleges, maybe an actual one and done who was good enough to play with men, but not quite old enough to date grown women. All that to say, the Courtney show was a thing. So much so that when Tarek had seen the single, solitary message in his DMs 6 months ago, he thought it was some kind of prank. Courtney, hey, you got the science notes from yesterday? He did, in fact, have the science notes, and was happy to say yes to any question from her, though he wasn't falling into the trap every guy fell into with Courtney. It wasn't like he was hurting for female attention. Getting drawn in and torched by Radcliffe's Most Wanted was a part of his plan. He found out, soon enough, that it wasn't part of hers either. The plans were meant to be broken. The apartment was empty, and Tarek knew it would be. Mama had a shift at the Criterion Motor Warehouse, where she unpacked large shipments of auto parts for redistribution to various stores along the eastern seaboard. Dull, repetitive work that often resulted in her smearing icy hot on her lower back late at night. Her version of sacrificing her body on the field, but with little upside beyond food and rent. He knew how cliche it was to have her baller dreams of making millions in the NFL and buying his mama a house. Knew what people, mostly white folks, thought when he talked about it. So he had this joke where he'd say the thing, then follow up with, "When I buy my mama that house, I'm going to name it like it's some kind of estate or British manor. We're calling it cliche." Courtney liked that joke a lot. Said it made scouts, mostly white folks, feel comfortable around him. Said personality was part of the game, too. With his size and dark complexion, it was good that he disarmed people with humor. Wasn't that how he'd disarmed her? Tarek reached for the refrigerator door handle, needing water or juice or something to soothe his hot, dry throat. As soon as the seal broke, a rotting, invisible hand mushed his face with the force of an on-the-field stiff arm. He flinched away from the smell, then lurched back into the open box, breathing through his mouth, searching the forest of nearly empty condiment containers, pickle jars, and Tupperware that probably should have been emptied and washed last season. What was rotten here? He yanked open the veggie drawer and found a leaky package of thawed chicken sitting in a puddle of pink, congealed blood. Shit. Tarek had put it there 3 days ago, intending to. He didn't even know. Courtney was the first person he ever cooked for. Shrimp and crab cakes. Paid for with booster money all the players got a piece of, since their team was the winning kind. The meal was a hot mess when he finished. The shrimp sopping with butter. You don't saute with the whole stick. And the crab cakes broken and mostly lost in popping grease. Breadcrumbs would have helped. Yet, he liked the planning of it, strategy and execution. He didn't always get football plays right the first time, but the process of getting there, then getting perfect, spoke to him. "You're meticulous." Her words. Or he was. He tugged his shirt collar over his nose, twirled long streamers of the paper towel roll to soak up the blood, yanked the entire drawer free, and sat it on the floor, where he disposed of the foul meat in a heavy-duty trash bag. Then he dropped the paper towel in the swill, deciding to let it soak. While it did, he checked his phone, as addicted to status updates as ever, despite his imagination getting the best of him earlier. he missed her. That was expected, and that was all. More IG, more bikini girls, normal. Except now he was disappointed. Until he scrolled further, his hopes and fears realized. There was Courtney again, in that same oval filter. Not that front shot from last time, with her smile sly and her cat eyes reflecting mischief. No, her head was turned, as if gazing at something to the left of the frame. A good profile shot, with a solid view of one of the simple pearl earrings, also bought with booster money, that he'd given her on her birthday. It was a tribute page. Had to be. Except no one knew about the earrings. Jewelry so unlike the hoops she normally rocked. So prim compared to her rattling bracelets or diamond stud nose ring. He told her he bought them because he didn't know anything about jewelry. Then contradicted himself by saying Alfre Woodard gave Sana Lathan pearls to wear in their favorite old school movie, Love and Basketball. So that made them special. Really? While booster money bought shrimp and the good lump crab meat, it didn't cover gold or diamonds like she was used to. She didn't scoff or laugh or call him out. She did rock those pearls among the other 3 studs that adorned her multi-pierced ears. That was when he suspected they were more than the secret they were playing at. Tarek tapped the name above her picture, which went to the profile he'd known for their entire time together. The one her mother had deleted a week after they found her. Courtney Hedge. Beauty, glam, fashionista. Your favorite dime's favorite dime. And my time ain't coming. It's here. That part was right, but nothing about the rest of it was. All the pictures were framed by the oval filter, various angles of her face in a typical IG grid, but arranged so if you looked at them quickly, your eye bouncing from one to the next, she appeared to thrash about, like an infant shaken by a grown man with such force, thick swathes of her hair feigned into tentacles reaching beyond the oval frame. They weren't selfies, and they weren't anything Courtney would ever allow on her page. Not her standard hot girl aesthetic. In some, there were light patches where her cheek, nose, and neck flattened, as if pressed against the lens the moment the photo was snapped. Those horrified Tarek, because they showed anguish in such detail an artist could slave his whole life trying to render such visceral emotion and never succeed. A key rattled at the door, startling Tarek. He stood suddenly, nearly losing his grip on the phone. "Oh, Lord," his mama squealed. "What is that smell?" She rounded the corner, work damp and face crumpled from the odor. "I'm sorry." Tarek plucked up the soppy paper towel and dropped it in the bag with its accompanying meat. "Some chicken went bad. Please get it out of here before I gag. God." Scrambling, he sprayed cleaning liquid into the drawer, scrubbed it with fresh paper towels, and asked, "Why are you home so early?" "What are you talking about, boy? I work by normal shift." "Exactly. 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. She usually didn't get home until nearly midnight. And before he pointed that out, he glanced at the stove clock. 11:45. That wasn't right. He jabbed the wake button on his phone, and it showed a different time, but it didn't make any more sense. 11:47 p.m. None of the clocks in their house were synced, so as he trudged around the apartment, checking the cable box and the microwave and his alarm clock, he found few matches, but all of them were close enough. It had been more than 6 hours since he'd arrived home. 6 hours since he'd first navigated to those strange photos of Courtney. Hours that passed like seconds, or had seemed to. Phone in hand, awake, he shuddered. That word, awake, for an electronic device. Why? If it could sleep and wake, could it also watch? With an unsteady finger, he tapped Instagram, expecting more of Courtney in that oval. Before he could scroll, the screen shifted, flashed a red empty battery icon, then went totally black. Tarek was relieved. Field focus. That was what was needed here. One task at a time, one play at a time. He got the chicken cleaned all the way up and carried the bag to the dumpster behind their building. All that existed were the next few steps. Not the shadows visible in the corner of his eye, those shapeless voids. No ovals among them. He was sure of that, and he made certain not to look directly at them for fear of discovering otherwise. Inside, he showered, dressed for bed, and slid beneath the covers, skipping a step that had been as much a part of his nighttime routine as saying a brief prayer for Mama. He didn't plug in his phone. It felt like the right choice. His sleep was thin, restless and dreamless, barely sleep at all. He roused, ready for daylight to burn off yesterday's lingering unease. His phone was ready too, on his nightstand, plugged in and fully charged, awake. 4 weeks ago, a body had been found by an early morning jogger. The woman spotted purple sparks at the muddy bank of the Alberto River, the sequins in Courtney's favorite jacket. She had drowned. That much was certain. The authorities theorized she'd been crossing the walking bridge, a mile or so upstream from where she was found, the path she'd walked many times, when something happened. Dumbass was probably taking a selfie by the railing and tipped over when she couldn't get the right angle. That was Anna Brewster's loud, bitchy hallway deduction. She was a Radcliffe girl who talked more about Courtney than most. Anna, who chased Courtney's popularity since they were freshmen, with more money and more effort, but still coming up short. Anna, who'd gone as far as setting up burner social media accounts just to troll until some other rich girl frenemy busted her, giving Courtney the ultimate ammunition for revenge. When I told her, "Sweetie, I don't need a secret identity to let the world know how tacky you are," it was like a supervillain origin story. Chick's been extra salty ever since. I seriously fear for my life some days, Rick. That was Courtney's unserious rendition, told after a sweaty half hour together beneath Tarek's covers while his mom worked that 3 to 11 p.m. shift. Had that Anna Courtney beef seemed superficial? It did. Until Tarek relayed all that to the police when they came asking if anyone else walked with Courtney, or had a problem with Courtney, or meant to hurt Courtney. Normally, Tarek had a firm no snitching policy. But the police had also asked about his whereabouts. Hospital. Plenty of witnesses. It was the night he hurt his knee. If they knew enough to come to him, his Courtney thing wasn't as secret as they thought. And if they were asking that many people that many questions, maybe Courtney didn't fall taking a dumbass selfie. Police scared Tarek most of the time. This was different. These cops were Radcliffe football fans. They made a point of letting him know. He knew they tried their best. As of the present, their best hadn't been enough. Courtney's case had gone cold. No heat in sight until now. Tarek zoned out through the day, only a lurch and slide from tumbling out of his desk in every single class. He didn't snore, and his teachers were grateful, since that would have made it harder to ignore his blatant disregard for their lesson. When he was awake, he stared at his phone. An oval filter picture of Courtney, now his home and lock screen wallpaper. He hadn't changed his screens. They used to be logos for Ohio State and Notre Dame, his two dream schools. When he tried to change them back, it simply didn't work. He tapped the settings menu so hard, he feared he might crack the glass. Then, he just accepted the pics. It was Courtney, after all. Hadn't he wanted to see her again? Courtney's posts were like art. She'd been smart about her tools, never frivolous. Only post important pictures, she said one weekend afternoon, after examining a selfie, finding it unacceptable and deleting it. Ones that last. You post every day, though, Tarek said. The team had lost the night before, and he'd been cranky. She didn't let his mood disprove her point, because every day is important, especially for people like us. You should know. People like us meant the physically gifted. His strength, speed, her looks. Assets and hindrances because other people thought that was all they were. Courtney's strategy: use it, then surprise them from the top with some genius shit. It would have worked too, but everybody who's there to help ain't helpful, she said. No longer in his memory, because that wasn't something she ever said when she was alive. She twisted on the couch and faced him, wet, grit smeared with river mud in her purple sequins jacket, her voice warbling, her words pushing moss bubbles from her lips. You should know. Tarek jerked out of his dream, his phone in his hand, kicking away from his seat. His powerful heeled leg launched the entire desk into the adjacent row, a clanking collision with another defensive lineman, Corey Wilson. Dude, Corey said, more surprised than anything, as was the entire class. Mr. Staunton looked cornered at the front of the room. No way to give the customary football player pass on such a loud disruption. But the final bell rung, and students exited the room unconcerned with Tarek's fit. When it was just him, panting and disoriented, the teacher waved him on. Just go. He did, with Courtney's oval encased face seemingly pressed to his screen. Her eyes canted left, the direction he needed to go. And at the hallway's intersection, he turned right, but not before glancing at the screen. Seeing her position shifted slightly, her eyes now cutting his way. She'd become a macabre compass, only settling on a position when he reached the locker room, his stomach churning because they'd have to part. Coach is strict about no phones, even if you're benched, Tarek mumbled, reluctantly placing his phone on his locker shelf, sealing it in. He knew she knew, but he didn't like the idea of her alone in the dark. He never had. Sidelined, his locker 200 yards away, still he felt her. That single pearl earring from her gorgeous profile shot a dying star in the center of his dark mind. Those words from his dream like claxons in his ears. Everybody who's there to help ain't helpful. You should know. After practice, his teammates showered and dressed while he perched on the bench before his locker, staring at Courtney, watching her eyes. They were closed. Squeezed shut, they remained so as Jimmy Rogers asked him to go for burgers, and when A.J. Wheeler invited him over to play Xbox. So he declined, of course. The locker room emptied. Teammates spilled into the evening. Courtney's eyes opened, cutting left, then right. Not in the picture like some ghost movie. Her image wasn't some animated spirit. The picture changed. Different shots inside that oval filter, refreshing to follow the movement of one so-called teammate. That was when Tarek knew. He needed a do-over on his ice bath. Morris, he said, his voice airy. You got me? You know it, Rick. Coach retreated to his office to do whatever paperwork coaches do. leaving Tarek and Morris to do it. A powerful stream of water splattered inside the aluminum tub, like pounding a rusty drum. Morris hunched over the lip, dumping scoops of ice from his bucket. You gotta do a full 10 minutes today, Rick. I covered for you yesterday, but for real, the cold is gonna help you get back to cracking skulls soon. We need you out there. Uh-huh. Tarek hadn't changed from his street clothes. Jeans, sneakers, a sweater Courtney had gifted him the day before his injury and her death. Following her eyes and the flickering new photos, he made his way to the center of the training room, knelt by the floor drain. With his house key, he pried up the circular gate covering the drain pipe. Mossy gas escaped. The dark pipe might have run to the center of the earth. But that was not his concern. The pearl earring, wedged in muck, just an inch from the pipe's opening, though. Hey, Morris said, dropping his plastic scoop in his bucket. What the hell are you doing? What did Courtney ever do to you, Morris? The team manager's smile dissolved. Everybody who's there to help ain't helpful. You should know. Tarek couldn't look at him, so he focused on the tub, tried to imagine levitating over it, a bird's eye view. If that were possible, he'd see a nearly perfect oval, wouldn't he? Almost like an old school picture frame, or a filter made to look like one. Morris said, You don't look so good, Rick. Tarek stepped to him. The pearl earring that must have come off when Morris did what he did, pinched between thumb and forefinger. An earring swishing over the edge of the tub as Courtney thrashed while Morris held her down. An earring floating in a gush of ice water toward a drain where it should have disappeared into the dark forever, but didn't. There was a different picture on Tarek's phone now. Courtney's face pressed hard against the screen, or the tub's bottom. Fingers visible, gripping her neck. A pale hand, a loose-fitting state championship ring with its signature amber gem in the shot. She'd always posted with purpose. You killed her here, Tarek said, her message coming through crystal clear. Then dumped her in the river. Why? What change did Morris see in him? What horror had Tarek become? Whatever it was, it unhinged Morris's jaw and sped up his tongue. She came in acting like she always does. I mean, why'd she even come here? For me, Tarek thought. We were going to give it a real try. No secrets, but my knee. That didn't matter anymore. Tarek closed the gap between them. Make me understand. Do that, and I promise I won't snitch. Everybody was gone because you got hurt. I was going through my regular shit, and she strolled in here like she wanted it. I mean, she did want it. She said she had some fantasy. Tarek glanced at the phone, and the photo of Courtney wore a scowl inside the oval filter, her eyes daggers. That's a lie, Morris. For every step Tarek took, Morris took two backward until he was making the 3-step climb onto the ice tub platform. We were right here, Rick, and I mean, sure, maybe she was looking for one of you guys, but we're all a team, right? Courtney's face was pure rage inside the oval filter. Then she slipped, fell in the tub, Morris said, like that made any kind of sense. Must have hit her head or something. You could have pulled her out, called 911. The picture on his phone zoomed to that gripping hand and that oversized ring. It's okay, baby, Tarek thought. I know. Tarek held the phone up for Morris. Dude, what am I looking at? The screen's black. Tarek climbed onto the platform, grabbed Morris by the neck, and edged him towards the frigid water. Take a breath, he said. 10 minutes should do it. On his phone, Courtney, his sweet, sweet Courtney, inside the oval filter, was all teeth.